It was a gray Tuesday in February when I watched the handcuffs close around my daughter-in-law's wrists at Miami International Airport's arrivals terminal. The police officer tightened them with a metallic click that echoed in my ears like the most satisfying sound I had heard in weeks. Vanessa looked up at me, her green eyes, those same eyes my son Daniel had loved madly for 8 years, now looked completely different. They were no longer the sweet eyes of my grandson's mother. They were the eyes of a stranger, of a thief. My grandson Sebastian, barely 4 years old, cried while clinging to her leg, not understanding why the police surrounded his mother. He wore a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, probably bought at some expensive Waikiki store with the life insurance money. The money that should have been mine, the money my son Daniel had worked for years to pay, religiously paying every month for that policy, thinking about protecting his family. Mrs. Morales, you have the right to remain silent, the officer began to say while two other agents inspected the pink suitcases she had checked. New suitcases. Louis Vuitton. I could see the tags from where I stood, about 3 meters away with my lawyer Roberto by my side and my hand trembling on the handle of my cane. Vanessa looked directly at me. There were no tears in her eyes, only pure hatred. "This isn't over, Marta," she said, and her voice sounded different. It was no longer the soft voice with which she had called me mother-in-law for years. It was cold, sharp as a knife. "No matter what you've done, Sebastian is my son. Mine." "Sebastian is the grandson of a woman who just lost her only son," I responded, and my voice broke on the last word. I couldn't help it. I had spent 3 weeks holding back tears, maintaining composure, investigating, calling lawyers, reviewing documents. But seeing her there, arrested with my grandson crying, was too much. "And you forged documents to steal his inheritance. To steal the only thing I had left of Daniel." The airport continued its normal rhythm around us. Families passed by dragging suitcases. Tourists took photos, loudspeakers announced flights. But in that small circle where we stood, time had stopped. The officer continued reading her rights. Sebastian continued crying. And I continued trembling, gripping my cane, trying not to collapse right there on the polished marble floor. "All of this could have been avoided," Vanessa continued. And now there was something in her eyes. Not sadness. Rage. "If you had been different, if you hadn't always been so intrusive, so controlling, Daniel was tired of you. That's why he changed the beneficiary." Those words hit me like a punch to the stomach. My lawyer Roberto touched my arm, warning me not to respond, but I had already opened my mouth. "My son loved me," I whispered, and tears finally began to roll down my wrinkled cheeks. "He would never have taken away that benefit from me. I know it, I know because I was his mother for 33 years, because I knew him better than anyone in this world." "Not mommy," Sebastian sobbed, trying to break free from the officer who was now trying to calm him. "I want my mommy. Grandma. Help my mommy." That was the moment that broke me in two. Seeing my grandson, so small, so confused, asking for help while his mother was being arrested for fraud. And the worst part was that I was part of it. I had filed the complaint. I had hired the private investigator who discovered the forgery. I had gathered the evidence. But I had to do it, because Vanessa had crossed a line I couldn't ignore. The officer began to guide her toward the exit of the international arrivals area. Vanessa walked with her head high, defiant, even with the handcuffs. She wore a white linen dress, expensive sandals, her hair pulled back in a perfect bun. She looked tanned, rested, radiant, as if she had just returned from a dream vacation. And that's exactly what it was. She had been in Hawaii for a week with Marcus, my son's best friend. With my grandson, spending the insurance money on luxuries while I continued packing Daniel's clothes in boxes, unable to donate anything, sleeping with his favorite sweater every night. "Wait," I said suddenly, taking a step toward them. Roberto stopped me firmly. "The boy. What's going to happen to Sebastian?" The senior officer, a Latino man in his 50s with gray at his temples, turned to me with a sympathetic expression. "Child Protective Services is on the way, ma'am. Since you're the grandmother and you've initiated the legal process for temporary custody, They'll probably leave him with you while the situation is resolved. Your lawyer has all the papers, right? Roberto nodded, pulling a thick folder from his briefcase. Everything is in order, officer. Mrs. Morales has temporary custody approved by the judge this morning. Vanessa turned sharply, almost tripping over her own feet. What? No. No, they can't do that. Sebastian stays with me. Call my lawyer. There has to be someone else. My sister. My mother. Your mother lives in Colombia, and your sister is in prison for drug trafficking, I said, and my voice sounded stronger now, firmer. I investigated everything, Vanessa. Everything, as I should have done from the beginning. Her eyes widened with genuine surprise. Perhaps she didn't expect me, a 55-year-old woman with arthritis and diabetes, to have the strength or determination to unmask her. But she had underestimated what a mother can do when her son is taken from her. The officers took her away. Sebastian stretched his arms toward her, screaming, "Mommy," over and over, and each scream was like a knife in my heart. A social worker came running, a young woman with a blonde ponytail and a smile too bright for the situation. "Hi, champion," she told Sebastian, kneeling to his height. "You know what? Your grandma is going to take care of you for a while. Isn't that great?" Sebastian looked at me with those brown eyes, identical to Daniel's. In that moment, I saw my son in him so clearly I could barely breathe, the same shape of the eyebrows, the same curve of the lips, the same expression of confusion when he didn't understand something. "Grandma Marta," he said in a trembling voice, "why are they taking my mommy away?" I knelt in front of him, ignoring the pain that shot through my knees as I did, and stroked his hair damp with tears. "Because sometimes adults make mistakes, my love, and when that happens, they have to fix them." "Did mommy make a mistake?" "Yes, sweetheart, a very big mistake. But is she coming back?" I didn't know what to answer. The social worker gave me a warning look, reminding me to be careful with what I said. Roberto was putting away his papers, speaking quietly with another officer. The airport was still full of life around us, and I was there, kneeling on the floor, holding my grandson, trying to find the right words to explain the inexplicable. But wait, how did I get here? How did I go from being a mother newly widowed of her only son to standing at an airport watching my daughter-in-law get arrested? Let me tell you from the beginning, because this story started long before that gray Tuesday in February. It started on a rainy Friday in January, the day we buried Daniel. The sky was the color of lead that Friday. It had rained all morning, and the ground at St. Michael's Cemetery was soft, almost muddy. I wore my black dress, the same one I had worn at my husband Eduardo's funeral 5 years ago. I had taken it from the back of the closet. It smelled of mothballs and the old perfume I used to wear. It hung looser on me now. I had lost 18 pounds in the 2 weeks since I received the call. The call. I could still hear every word with perfect clarity. It was a Tuesday night. I was watching the 9 o'clock soap opera, drinking my chamomile tea, when the phone rang, an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something in me, some maternal instinct that had never failed me, made me pick up the receiver. "Mrs. Morales? Marta Morales?" "Yes, this is she. I'm Officer Ramirez from the Miami Police Department. I'm sorry to inform you that your son Daniel Morales was involved in a car accident tonight." The world stopped at that moment. The sound of the television became distant, distorted. The cup of tea slipped from my hand and crashed against the kitchen floor, but I didn't hear the noise. "Is he okay?" was all I could say. "Can I go see him? Which hospital is he at?" The silence on the other end of the line lasted an eternity. "Mrs. Morales, I'm very sorry to have to tell you this over the phone. Your son did not survive the impact. He was pronounced dead at the scene. I don't remember much after that. I remember I screamed. I remember that the neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez from next door, knocked on my door because she had heard me. I remember they called my sister Patricia, who came running from Hialeah. I remember I couldn't stop shaking. My Daniel, my only son, the boy I'd raised alone after Eduardo died, the man who called me every Sunday without fail, the father who adored his son Sebastian with every fiber of his being. Dead at 33 years old because of a drunk driver who ran a red light at the intersection of Flagler and 8th Avenue. Vanessa arrived at the hospital before me. When I finally managed to get there with Patricia driving because I couldn't even hold the keys, Vanessa was already there. I saw her in the waiting room, sitting in one of those blue plastic chairs with Sebastian asleep in her lap. She wore sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. Her hair was messy. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked devastated. At that moment, I felt sorry for her. I thought we were united in our pain, that we had both lost the person we loved most in the world. I was wrong. Vanessa looked up when I approached. Her eyes were red, swollen. Her cheeks were stained with mascara. "Marta," she said, and her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I sat next to her. I reached out and touched Sebastian's hair, sleeping peacefully, not yet knowing that his father would never come home. "What happened?" I asked. "Where was he? What was he doing?" "He was coming from work," Vanessa answered, and new tears rolled down her cheeks. "He worked late. He had that big project, remember? The building in Brickell. He sent me a message saying he'd be home in 20 minutes. And then the police called me. We sat in silence. Patricia sat on my other side and held my hand. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. A nurse passed by with a tray. A television in the corner showed the news with no sound. "Can I see him?" I finally asked. "Can I see my son?" The nurse on duty, an older woman with glasses and a kind expression, approached and explained the procedures. She warned me that he didn't look good, that the impact had been severe, that maybe it was better to remember him as he was. But I needed to see him. I needed to say goodbye. They took me to a cold room. Daniel was covered with a white sheet. I could only see his face. His eyes were closed. He looked at peace, as if he were sleeping. I touched his cheek and it was cold, so cold I talked to him. I told him I loved him. I told him I was sorry. I told him so many things that I can't remember clearly now because the pain was too great. The following days were a blur. We had to plan the funeral, call relatives, make arrangements. Vanessa and I worked together. She chose the casket. I chose the flowers. Her mother arrived from Colombia. My sister Patricia stayed with me every night because I couldn't be alone. And then came the day of the funeral. The rainy Friday, St. Michael's Cemetery. There were many people. Daniel was loved. He had friends from college, co-workers, neighbors from the building where he lived with Vanessa. Father Miguel, who had baptized Daniel as a baby, gave the Mass. He spoke about the brevity of life, about God's plans, about the hope of resurrection. I didn't listen to much. I was sitting in the first pew, holding the funeral program with trembling hands, staring at the closed casket at the front. It was dark mahogany with silver handles. There was a bouquet of white roses on top. A photo of Daniel smiling on the beach with Sebastian on his shoulders was on an easel beside it. Sebastian was sitting between Vanessa and me. He wore a small black suit that Vanessa had bought, especially for the occasion. He was 4 years old, but he was smart, observant. He kept asking questions in a whisper. "Why is Daddy in that box? When is Daddy coming out? Is Daddy sleeping?" Vanessa answered him with patience. I didn't have it that moment. She held him close, whispered in his ear, wiped his tears. I just stared ahead, my hands clasped so tightly my knuckles were white. After the Mass, we all went outside. The rain had stopped, but the sky remained gray. People gathered under the green tent they had set up over the grave. I stood at the front, supported by Patricia on one side and my cousin Rosa on the other. My legs felt weak. My heart felt like it was being crushed in a vice. The casket was lowered slowly. The mechanism creaked. Someone sobbed loudly behind me. Father Miguel said final prayers. People began to drop roses onto the casket. White roses, Daniel's favorite. When it was my turn, I couldn't move. Patricia had to guide me forward. I held the rose in my hand, looking down at that hole in the ground where they were putting my son, my baby. The boy who used to run to me with scraped knees, the teenager who brought me breakfast in bed on Mother's Day, the man who called me every Sunday just to hear my voice. I dropped the rose and it landed softly on the casket. I wanted to jump in after it. I wanted to climb down there and lay beside him. Patricia must have sensed it because she held me tighter. Come on, Marta. Let's go. Let's go. But I couldn't move. I stood there, staring down, as more people came forward with their roses. Vanessa came with Sebastian. She helped him drop his small rose. He looked confused. He waved at the casket. Bye-bye, Daddy. See you later. Those words broke something in me that was barely holding together. I made a sound, something between a sob and a scream, and Patricia and Rosa had to practically carry me away from the grave. We went back to my house after the burial. People brought food, casseroles, rice, beans, pastels, flan. My small kitchen table was covered with dishes. The living room was full of people talking in low voices. I sat in Eduardo's old recliner, the one I had never gotten rid of, and let people come up to me one by one to offer their condolences. He's in a better place now. God needed another angel. Time heals all wounds. At least he didn't suffer. Empty words, well-meaning, but empty. Nothing they said made the pain less. Nothing they said brought Daniel back. Vanessa was in the kitchen with her mother, Gloria, a short woman with dyed black hair and too much makeup. They were organizing the food, making coffee, serving people. I watched them through the doorway. Vanessa looked exhausted. Her eyes were red and puffy. She kept touching her wedding ring, twisting it around her finger. Marcus arrived late, around 4 in the afternoon. Marcus Rivera, Daniel's best friend since high school. They had been inseparable. Marcus was Sebastian's godfather. He had been in the wedding party when Daniel and Vanessa got married 8 years ago at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. Marcus was tall, over 6 feet. With dark hair he wore slicked back and a jawline that belonged in magazines. He worked in construction, same as Daniel. They had started at the same company right out of college. He wore a black suit that looked expensive and sunglasses even though it was cloudy outside. I watched him enter the house. He went straight to Vanessa in the kitchen. They hugged. It lasted a few seconds longer than I thought was appropriate, but I dismissed the thought. They were both grieving. Marcus had lost his best friend. Vanessa had lost her husband. Of course they would seek comfort in each other. Marta, Marcus said, coming over to me. He took off his sunglasses, and I could see his eyes were red too. I'm so sorry. I can't believe he's gone. I can't believe it. None of us can, Misho, I said, using the affectionate term I had called him for years. He had been like a second son to me. But we have to accept it. We have to be strong. If you need anything, anything at all, you call me, okay? Daniel would want me to take care of you. I nodded. People continued to come and go. The afternoon turned into evening. Slowly, people began to leave. Patricia stayed to help clean up. Rosa stayed too. Vanessa's mother left around 7, saying she had a flight back to Bogota the next morning. Vanessa and Sebastian stayed until almost 8. Sebastian had fallen asleep on my couch, exhausted from the long day. Vanessa sat beside him, stroking his hair, staring at nothing. You can stay here tonight if you want, I offered. It's late. Sebastian is already asleep. No, thank you, she said quietly. I need to get him home. Get him into his own bed. Try to establish some normalcy. How are you doing? Really? She looked at me then, and for a moment I saw past the exhaustion to something else. Something I couldn't quite identify. I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, Marta. I don't know how to be a widow at 31. I don't know how to raise Sebastian without his father. I don't know how to pay the bills. Daniel handled everything, the money, the insurance, the mortgage. I don't even know what bank accounts we have. You'll figure it out, I said, trying to sound reassuring. And you're not alone. You have me. You have your family. We'll help you. Will we? She asked. And there was an edge to her voice I hadn't heard before. Will you help me, Marta? Or will you try to take over like you always do? The words stung. I felt Patricia stiffen beside me where she was wiping down the kitchen counter. What do you mean? Nothing, Vanessa said quickly, standing up. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. I'm not thinking straight. Come on, Sebastian. Wake up, baby. We need to go home. She gathered Sebastian, who was still half asleep, and carried him to the door. I walked with her, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like something had shifted between us, but not understanding what. At the door, she turned to me. Her eyes were dry now. Clear. "Thank you for everything today," she said, and her voice was formal, distant. "The funeral was beautiful. Daniel would have liked it. Vanessa, if I said something wrong—" "You didn't. I'm just emotional. I'll call you tomorrow." She left. I watched her walk to her car, a gray Honda Civic that Daniel had bought her 3 years ago. She strapped Sebastian into his car seat, got in the driver's seat, and pulled away without looking back. Patricia came up behind me. "That was strange," she said. "She's grieving. We all are." "No, Marta. That was something else. Did you hear how she talked to you, after everything you did today? After you paid for half the funeral?" "Stop it, Patricia. She just lost her husband. And you just lost your son, but you're not acting like that." I closed the door. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to analyze every word and gesture. I was too tired, too heartbroken. I went to bed early that night, but I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Daniel, about the last time I had seen him alive. It had been 2 Sundays before the accident. He had come over for dinner, like he did every week. He brought Sebastian and Vanessa. I made arroz con pollo, his favorite. We ate together in my small dining room. Sebastian told me about preschool. Daniel told me about his project at work. Vanessa had been quiet that night. She picked at her food. She checked her phone several times. When I asked if she was okay, she smiled and said she was fine. Just tired. After dinner, Daniel helped me with the dishes while Vanessa took Sebastian to play in the living room. "Is everything okay with you two?" I asked him as he dried a plate. "What do you mean? Vanessa seems distant lately. Is there trouble?" "No, Mom. Everything's fine. She's just been stressed with work and taking care of Sebastian. You know how it is. But you're happy?" He had looked at me then, really looked at me, and smiled. That smile that could light up a room. "I'm happy, Mom. I have a beautiful wife, an amazing son, a good job. I'm blessed. We're blessed." Those were the last words he said to me about his life. 2 weeks later, he was dead. I rolled over in bed, clutching Eduardo's old pillow, and finally let myself cry, really cry. Not the contained tears I had shed at the funeral, not the quiet sobs I had allowed myself in private moments, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from the very core of my being. Patricia was sleeping in the guest room. She probably heard me, but she knew I needed this. I cried until I had no tears left, until my throat was raw and my head pounded, until exhaustion finally pulled me into a fitful sleep. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up feeling hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left only a shell. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table. I stared at my phone. Vanessa hadn't called like she said she would. I told myself it was fine. She was busy. She had a lot to deal with. I would give her space. But Sunday came and went. No call. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, nothing. On Thursday, I finally called her. It rang 5 times before going to voicemail. "Hi, this is Vanessa. I can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message." "Vanessa, it's Marta. I just wanted to check on you and Sebastian. See how you're doing. Call me when you can. I love you." She didn't call back. Friday, I tried again. Voicemail again. Saturday morning, I drove to their apartment. It was a 20-minute drive from my house in Westchester to their place in Kendall, a nice apartment complex with a pool and a playground. Daniel had been so proud when they moved in 3 years ago. I parked and went up to the second floor, apartment 204. I knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, louder. Still nothing. I tried the doorknob. Locked. I called Vanessa's phone while standing at her door. I could hear it ringing inside the apartment, but she didn't answer. I stood there for several minutes, feeling foolish, feeling worried, not knowing what to do. Finally, I went downstairs and found the building manager, an older Cuban man named Julio, who I had met before. "Mr. Julio, have you seen Vanessa Morales from 204? "Not in a few days, Mrs. Marta. Is everything okay?" "I don't know. She's not answering her phone or her door. I'm worried." "Maybe she went to stay with family?" After what happened to Daniel, sometimes people need to get away. Maybe, I said, though something didn't feel right. If you see her, can you tell her to call her mother-in-law? Of course, Mrs. Marta. Of course. I went home feeling uneasy. Patricia had gone back to her own house, so I was alone. I tried to keep myself busy. I cleaned the house even though it was already clean. I cooked food I didn't eat. I watched television without really watching it. On Sunday, exactly 1 week after the funeral, I got a call, but it wasn't from Vanessa. It was from Elena Martinez, one of Daniel's coworkers, a woman I had met a few times at company barbecues. Mrs. Morales, this is Elena, from Constructora del Sol. Yes, Elena, I remember you. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. Listen, I'm calling because something strange happened at work yesterday. Vanessa came by. Vanessa? To Daniel's work? Yes. She said she needed to collect his personal items from his office and also inquire about his benefits, his life insurance through the company. Oh, well, that makes sense, I suppose. Yes, but Mrs. Morales, she was with someone, a man, and the way they were acting, it didn't seem appropriate. Not this soon after Daniel's death. My hand tightened on the phone. What do you mean? What man? I think his name was Marcus. Tall guy, dark hair. Vanessa introduced him as a family friend who was helping her with the arrangements, but Mrs. Morales, they were very close, touching each other, whispering. It just felt wrong. Marcus, Daniel's best friend. Maybe you misunderstood, I said, though my heart was starting to race. They're both grieving. Marcus was Daniel's best friend. Maybe, Elena said, but she didn't sound convinced. I just thought you should know. I'm sorry to bother you with this. I know you're going through a hard time. No, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. I hung up and sat down heavily in my chair. My mind was racing. Vanessa at Daniel's workplace with Marcus, acting inappropriately. Just 1 week after the funeral. No, I was being paranoid. Grief makes people act strangely, and Elena had probably misinterpreted what she saw. But I couldn't shake the feeling. The unease that had been growing since the funeral now blossomed into full suspicion. I called Vanessa again. Voicemail. I called Marcus. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Marta. Hello. Marcus, how are you? I'm okay. Still processing everything. How about you? The same. Listen, I heard you were helping Vanessa with some arrangements at Daniel's work. There was a pause. A beat too long. Yeah, she called me yesterday. She was nervous about going alone. She asked if I could go with her for moral support. I figured that's what Daniel would want. Of course, that was very kind of you. She's having a hard time, Mrs. Marta, really struggling. I'm just trying to be there for her, like Danny would want. Have you seen Sebastian? Is he okay? I saw him briefly yesterday. He seems okay. Quiet. I think he's still figuring out what happened. I'd like to see him. Can you ask Vanessa to call me? Sure, I'll tell her. Thank you, Marcus. I hung up feeling worse instead of better. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. That same maternal instinct that had made me answer the phone the night Daniel died was now screaming at me that something wasn't right. Monday morning, I decided to act. I called Daniel's life insurance company, Metropolitan Life. The number was on paperwork I had found in the folder Daniel had kept at my house with copies of important documents. Metropolitan Life, this is Jennifer speaking. How can I help you? Hello, Jennifer. My name is Marta Morales. My son, Daniel Morales, recently passed away. He had a life insurance policy with your company. Policy number 847239456. I'm very sorry for your loss, Mrs. Morales. Let me pull up that policy. One moment, please. I waited, my heart pounding. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I just knew I needed information. Okay, I have the policy here. How can I assist you? Can you tell me who the beneficiary is? Let me see. The beneficiary is listed as Vanessa Morales, the wife. Is that correct? Yes, I said, though something felt wrong. When was the last time the policy was updated? It looks like there was a change made recently, on December 15th of last year. December 15th, just 1 month before Daniel died. What kind of change? I'm sorry, Mrs. Morales, but I can only discuss specific policy details with the policyholder or the designated beneficiary. My son is dead. I'm his mother. Surely you can tell me. I understand your frustration, but there are privacy laws I have to follow. If you have concerns about the policy, I would suggest speaking with the beneficiary or consulting with a lawyer. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking. A change made on December 15th. 1 month before Daniel died. What kind of change? I called my sister Patricia. Marta, what's wrong? You sound upset. Can you come over? I need to talk to someone. She arrived 30 minutes later. I told her everything about Vanessa not returning my calls, about Elena's phone call, about the insurance policy change. You think something's going on, Patricia said. It wasn't a question. I don't know what to think, but something doesn't feel right. Maybe you should hire someone, a private investigator. That seems extreme. Marta, your son is dead. His wife is avoiding you. She was seen acting inappropriately with his best friend. And there was a change to his life insurance policy right before he died. That's not paranoia. That's cause for concern. She was right. I knew she was right. I don't even know how to find a private investigator. I do. Rosa's daughter used one during her divorce. He was good. Let me get you his number. That afternoon, I met with Jorge Castillo, a private investigator who worked out of a small office in Hialeah. He was in his 60s, gray-haired, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. Mrs. Morales, your sister told me a little about your situation. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. Now, what exactly do you need from me? I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. And you want me to investigate your daughter-in-law? I want you to find out the truth. If I'm wrong, if I'm just being a paranoid old woman who's lost her mind with grief, then fine. I'll apologize to Vanessa and move on. But if something's going on, I need to know. Understood. I'll need some information from you. Names, addresses, phone numbers, photos if you have them. I gave him everything I had, photos of Vanessa and Marcus. Daniel's work address, their apartment address, phone numbers. How long will this take? Depends on what I find. Could be a few days, could be a few weeks. I'll start with basic surveillance. See where she goes, who she sees, and I'll look into that insurance policy. Something about that timing bothers me too. What's your fee? He told me it was expensive, but I didn't care. I would spend every penny I had to find out the truth. I went home and waited. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On the fourth day, Thursday morning, Jorge called me. Mrs. Morales, I have some information. Can you come to my office? Tell me now. It's better if we talk in person. My heart sank. That meant bad news. I drove to his office. He was waiting for me with a manila folder on his desk. Please sit down, Mrs. Morales. I sat. My hands were gripping my purse so tightly my knuckles were white. I'm going to be direct with you because I think that's what you want. Yes, please. Your daughter-in-law is having an affair with Marcus Rivera. Has been for at least 3 months, possibly longer. The world tilted, even though part of me had suspected hearing it said out loud made it real. How do you know? He opened the folder and pulled out photographs. Vanessa and Marcus at a restaurant, sitting close, holding hands across the table. Vanessa and Marcus entering a hotel in Miami Beach. Vanessa and Marcus kissing in a parking garage. The photos were time-stamped. Some were from December, some from early January, before Daniel died. Oh my God, I whispered. Oh my God. There's more, Mrs. Morales. I looked into the life insurance policy like you asked. He pulled out more papers. Your son's policy was originally for $500,000 with his wife as beneficiary. That was correct. But on December 15th, the beneficiary was changed to you. To me? Yes. Your son changed the beneficiary to you, his mother. But then on January 2nd, 5 days before he died, it was changed back to Vanessa. I don't understand. Neither did I, so I dug deeper. I have a contact at Metropolitan Life. He was able to access the actual change forms. Mrs. Morales, the signature on the January 2nd form doesn't match your son's signature on any of his other documents. My heart stopped. What are you saying? I'm saying the January 2nd beneficiary change form was forged. Your daughter-in-law forged your son's signature to change the beneficiary back to herself. The room spun. I gripped the arms of the chair to steady myself. Are you sure? I had a handwriting expert compare the signatures. I have his report here. He's 95% certain the January 2nd signature is a forgery. But it means your daughter-in-law committed insurance fraud, and it means your son changed the beneficiary to you, not to her, before he died. Why would he do that? Jorge looked at me with sympathy. I think you know why, Mrs. Morales. I think he found out about the affair. I think he was planning to leave her. The beneficiary change was the first step. I couldn't breathe. The implications were too enormous. Daniel knew. He knew Vanessa was cheating on him with his best friend. He was planning to leave her. He had changed the beneficiary to protect Sebastian, to make sure I would take care of his son if anything happened to him. And then he died, before he could do anything else. Before he could divorce her, before he could tell anyone. And Vanessa, realizing she wouldn't get the insurance money, forged his signature to change it back to herself. What do I do? I asked. What do I do with this information? You take it to the police. Insurance fraud is a serious crime, and you contact a lawyer about getting custody of your grandson. Custody? Mrs. Morales, this woman cheated on your son, probably broke his heart, and then forged legal documents to steal money that should have been yours. Money that your son wanted you to have so you could take care of his child. Do you really think she should be raising that child? No. No, I didn't. But she's his mother. She's a criminal who's having an affair with your son's best friend, who forged his signature, who's probably planning to use that insurance money to start a new life with her boyfriend. He was right. Of course he was right. I need to think. Don't think too long, Mrs. Morales. She's already submitted the claim. Metropolitan Life is processing it. Once she gets that money, it's going to be much harder to get it back. I left his office in a daze. I sat in my car in the parking lot for I don't know how long, staring at nothing, trying to process everything. My son had been betrayed by the two people he trusted most. His wife, his best friend. And now they were going to profit from his death. No. Not if I could help it. I called my lawyer. His name was Roberto Vasquez, and he had handled Eduardo's estate when he died. He was a good man, honest, thorough. Marta, how are you? I heard about Daniel. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Roberto. I need your help. I told him everything. He listened carefully. This is serious, Marta. Very serious. You need to go to the police immediately, and you need to file for emergency custody of your grandson. Can I do that? Can I take him from his mother? Under these circumstances, yes. You have evidence of fraud, evidence of an affair, evidence that she's not acting in the child's best interest. A judge will grant you temporary custody while this is investigated. How long will it take? The custody order, I can have that filed tomorrow and we can get an emergency hearing by early next week. The criminal investigation, that could take weeks or months. What if she runs? What if she takes Sebastian and disappears? That's why you need to act fast. File today. Go to the police today. I drove straight from Roberto's office to the Miami Police Department. I brought all the evidence Jorge had gathered. The photographs, the handwriting analysis, everything. The detective who took my statement was a woman in her 40s named Detective Lisa Chen. She looked at the evidence carefully. This is definitely cause for an investigation, she said. Insurance fraud is taken very seriously. I'll need to contact Metropolitan Life, subpoena their records, interview your daughter-in-law. How long will that take? Hard to say. A few weeks at least. What about my grandson? I'm worried she'll take him and run. If you get a custody order from family court, we can enforce it. But until then, she has legal custody as his mother. I felt helpless, frustrated, but I had done what I could. Over the next few days, things moved quickly. Roberto filed the emergency custody petition. We got a court date for the following Tuesday. Detective Chen opened an official investigation into Vanessa, and I still hadn't spoken to Vanessa. She had no idea what was coming. On Monday night, the night before the custody hearing, my phone rang. Finally, after 2 weeks of silence, Vanessa called me. Marta, hi. I'm sorry I haven't called. Things have been crazy. Her voice was cheerful. Too cheerful. Like nothing was wrong. How are you, Vanessa? How's Sebastian? We're doing okay, taking it day by day. Actually, that's why I'm calling. I wanted to let you know that we're going away for a little while. My heart started pounding. Going away? Yes, just for a week. Marcus suggested it. He said getting away might help Sebastian and me process everything. So we're going to Hawaii. Marcus has a friend who has a condo there. He's letting us use it. Marcus is going with you? Well, yes. He's been such a help, Marta. I don't know what I would have done without him these past few weeks. He's been like a rock. I bet he has, I thought bitterly. When are you leaving? Tomorrow morning, early flight. Can I see Sebastian before you go? It's been 2 weeks. We're leaving so early, Marta. Maybe when we get back. Vanessa, I'd really like to see my grandson. And you will. When we get back, I promise. Look, I have to go. Still need to pack. I'll call you from Hawaii, okay? Vanessa, wait. But she had already hung up. I immediately called Roberto. She's leaving tomorrow, going to Hawaii with Marcus and Sebastian. The custody hearing is tomorrow at 10 a.m. If the judge grants the order, she won't be able to leave. And if the hearing is delayed, if something goes wrong, then she gets on that plane, and it becomes much more complicated. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, praying that everything would go smoothly in court. The hearing was at 10 a.m. at the Miami-Dade Family Court. I wore my best dress, black with small white flowers. Patricia came with me. Roberto was already there, organizing his papers. Where's Vanessa? I asked. Doesn't she need to be here? She was served with notice of the hearing, but it's not mandatory for her to attend an emergency custody hearing. The judge can rule based on the evidence we present. At exactly 10 a.m., Judge Maria Rodriguez entered the courtroom. She was a stern-looking woman in her 50s, with gray hair pulled back in a bun. This is the matter of Morales versus Morales. Emergency petition for temporary custody. Mr. Vasquez, you're representing the petitioner. Yes, Your Honor. Present your case. Roberto laid it all out. Daniel's death, the affair, the forged insurance documents, the fact that Vanessa was planning to leave the country today with her boyfriend and my grandson. Judge Rodriguez looked at the evidence. She asked questions. She reviewed the handwriting analysis. Finally, she spoke. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting temporary custody of the minor child Sebastian Morales to his paternal grandmother, Marta Morales, pending further investigation into the allegations of fraud. Mrs. Morales, you are authorized to take physical custody of your grandson immediately. Bailiff, please contact airport security and have them detain Vanessa Morales if she attempts to board her flight. I almost collapsed with relief. Patricia grabbed my hand and squeezed it. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Vasquez, I want a full hearing scheduled within 2 weeks, and I want Child Services to do a home study for Mrs. Morales. This is a serious situation, and I want to make sure that child is in a safe, stable environment. Of course, Your Honor. We left the courthouse. Roberto made calls to airport security, to Detective Chen, coordinating everything. Her flight is at 11:30, he said. They should be getting to the airport around now. Should we go there? The police will handle it. They'll detain her, arrest her if she resists. You'll get Sebastian after they process everything. But I wanted to be there. I needed to see it happen. Let's go, I said. We drove to Miami International Airport. Roberto called ahead to find out which terminal. American Airlines, Terminal D, 11:30 flight to Honolulu. We parked and rushed inside. It was a Tuesday morning, not too crowded. We found the American Airlines gates. Roberto showed his identification to security, and they let us through. And that's when I saw her, Vanessa, walking through the terminal with Marcus beside her and Sebastian between them. They each had a rolling suitcase. Vanessa wore a white linen dress. Marcus wore khakis and a polo shirt. They looked like a happy family going on vacation. Sebastian saw me first. "Grandma," he yelled, and started to run toward me. Vanessa grabbed his hand, stopping him. She looked at me, and her face went pale. "Marta, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" I repeated, and my voice was shaking with rage. "What are you doing, Vanessa? Running away to Hawaii with your boyfriend?" Marcus stepped forward. "Mrs. Marta, this isn't what it looks like." "Don't," I said, holding up my hand. "Don't you dare speak to me. You were Daniel's best friend." "His best friend? And you're sleeping with his wife? Before his body is even cold in the ground?" People were starting to stare. Vanessa's face flushed red. "Keep your voice down," she hissed. "You're making a scene." "I don't care. I don't care who hears. You betrayed my son. Both of you." That's when the police arrived. 4 officers walking quickly toward us. One of them was Detective Chen. "Vanessa Morales," she said. "Yes? I'm Detective Chen. I need you to come with us." Vanessa looked confused, panicked. "Why? What's going on?" "You're under arrest for insurance fraud and forgery." And that brought us back to the beginning. To where I started this story, to Vanessa being handcuffed, to Sebastian crying, to Marcus running away when he realized what was happening, to me standing there with my lawyer and my broken heart and my grandson trying to figure out how we had gotten here. After they took Vanessa away, the social worker helped me with Sebastian. He was crying, scared, not understanding what was happening. "It's okay, baby," I told him, holding him close. "It's okay, Grandma's got you." "I want my mommy," he sobbed into my shoulder. "I know, sweetheart, I know." We took him home. My home. The house where his father had grown up. I set him up in Daniel's old room, which I had kept exactly as it was. The twin bed with the Star Wars sheets, the posters on the walls, the toys on the shelves. Sebastian looked around with wide eyes. "This was my daddy's room." "Yes, baby, this was your daddy's room when he was a little boy." He climbed onto the bed and touched the pillow. "It smells like him," he said softly. I hadn't thought about that, but he was right. After Daniel died, I had taken some of his clothes from his apartment, including his favorite hoodie. I had been sleeping with it. The smell must have transferred to the room. "Is my daddy coming back?" Sebastian asked, looking at me with those big brown eyes. "No, sweetheart. Daddy's in heaven now. He's with the angels, but I want him to come back." "I know. I want that too, so much." I sat on the bed next to him and pulled him into my arms. We sat there together, both of us missing Daniel, both of us trying to understand this new reality. Over the next few days, Sebastian adjusted better than I expected. He asked about Vanessa constantly at first, but I tried to distract him with activities. We went to the park. We baked cookies. We watched his favorite cartoons. Patricia came over every day to help. She was wonderful with Sebastian, playing with him, reading to him, making him laugh. Seeing him laugh, even just a little, was like medicine for my soul. The legal proceedings moved forward. Vanessa was released on bail, but with strict conditions. She couldn't leave the state. She couldn't contact Sebastian, except through supervised visits. She had to wear an ankle monitor. Marcus had disappeared. The police were looking for him, but he had left his apartment, quit his job, and vanished. Detective Chen said he was probably hiding out somewhere, scared that he would be charged as an accessory. The insurance company froze the payout. Pending the investigation, Detective Chen's case against Vanessa was strong, the handwriting expert's testimony, the evidence of the affair, the timing of everything. 2 weeks after Vanessa's arrest, we had the full custody hearing. This time, Vanessa was there with her lawyer, a young man in an ill-fitting suit who looked fresh out of law school. Judge Rodriguez listened to both sides. Vanessa's lawyer argued that the fraud charges were unproven, that Vanessa was Sebastian's mother and had every right to raise him, that I was just a grieving old woman trying to steal her grandchild. Roberto presented our evidence methodically. The affair, the fraud, the forged signature. The fact that Daniel had wanted me to be the beneficiary because he was planning to leave Vanessa. Your Honor, Roberto said, Daniel Morales was a good father who loved his son. When he discovered his wife's betrayal, he took steps to protect his child. He changed his life insurance beneficiary to his mother, knowing she would use that money to care for Sebastian. Mrs. Vanessa Morales forged his signature to steal that money. She showed callous disregard for her husband's wishes and for the welfare of her child. She planned to run away to Hawaii with her boyfriend using stolen money. She is not fit to have custody of this child. Judge Rodriguez looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Morales, do you have anything to say? Vanessa stood up. She was wearing a conservative navy blue dress and minimal makeup. She looked small, vulnerable. Your Honor, I loved my husband. Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, Marcus and I became close. But that doesn't mean I don't love my son. Sebastian is my whole world. He needs his mother. Please don't take him away from me. She was crying. Real tears this time, but I felt no sympathy. Judge Rodriguez took a deep breath. This is a difficult case. On one hand, we have allegations of serious fraud and evidence of questionable judgment. On the other hand, we have a mother's fundamental right to raise her child. However, the evidence presented is compelling. The handwriting analysis shows with high probability that Mrs. Vanessa Morales forged her deceased husband's signature. The evidence of her affair with Mr. Rivera shortly after her husband's death, combined with her attempt to leave the state with that same man and her child, shows extremely poor judgment. Additionally, the fact that Mr. Daniel Morales explicitly changed the beneficiary to his mother suggests he had concerns about his wife having access to those funds. Given all of this, I'm awarding full temporary custody to Mrs. Murata Morales until the criminal charges are resolved. Mrs. Vanessa Morales may have supervised visits twice a week for 2 hours each time. This order will be reviewed in 3 months. Court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Vanessa let out a sob and buried her face in her hands. Her lawyer patted her shoulder awkwardly. I felt no triumph, only sadness. This should never have happened. Daniel should still be alive. This shouldn't be the reality. But it was, and I had to deal with it. The visits with Vanessa were hard. They took place at a family services center with a social worker present. Sebastian was always excited to see his mother at first, but the visits always ended in tears. He didn't understand why he couldn't go home with her, why he had to stay with me. I want my mommy, he would cry after each visit. Why can't I go home? Soon, baby, I would tell him, though I didn't know if it was true. Soon. The insurance company completed their investigation and agreed that the January 2nd signature was forged. They voided that beneficiary change and honored the December 15th change. The $500,000 was transferred to my account. $500,000. It felt like blood money. Money that came because my son was dead. I put most of it in a trust for Sebastian, for his education, his future. A small amount I used to make improvements to the house. So Sebastian would be more comfortable. I converted Eduardo's old office into a proper bedroom for him with new furniture, new toys, everything a little boy could want. 3 months after the custody hearing, the criminal trial began. It was all over the local news. Widow accused of forging dead husband's life insurance beneficiary. The news cameras were always outside the courthouse. I attended every day of the trial. I sat in the front row behind the prosecutor, a sharp woman named Angela Torres, who had built an airtight case against Vanessa. The handwriting expert testified. Detective Chen testified. Even Daniel's coworkers testified about seeing Vanessa with Marcus before Daniel died. Vanessa's defense was weak. Her lawyer argued that she was distraught after her husband's death, that she made mistakes but didn't mean to commit fraud, that the handwriting analysis wasn't definitive. But the jury didn't buy it. After 3 days of deliberations, they came back with a verdict. Guilty of insurance fraud. Guilty of forgery. Guilty on all counts. Judge Rodriguez sentenced her to 3 years in prison with possibility of parole after 18 months. Vanessa sobbed as they led her away in handcuffs. She looked at me one last time before they took her through the door. I hate you, she mouthed. I hate you. I felt nothing. I was empty. Marcus was eventually found in Texas working under a fake name. He was extradited back to Florida and charged as an accessory to fraud. He took a plea deal and got 18 months in a minimum security facility. The permanent custody hearing was a formality after the conviction. Judge Rodriguez awarded me full legal custody of Sebastian. Vanessa would be allowed supervised visits once she was released from prison, but I was his legal guardian now. That evening I sat in the living room with Sebastian. He was playing with blocks on the floor. Patricia was in the kitchen, making dinner. The smell of arroz con gandules filled the house. "Sebastian," I said softly. "Come here, baby." He came over and climbed into my lap. "I need to tell you something important. You know how you've been living with Grandma for a while now?" "Yes." "Well, you're going to keep living with Grandma for a long time. Is that okay?" He thought about it for a moment. "Will I still see Mommy?" "Yes, you'll still see Mommy sometimes." "Okay." He went back to his blocks like it was no big deal. Children are resilient like that. They adapt. They accept. That night, after Sebastian was asleep, I went into Daniel's old room and sat on the edge of the bed. I held his hoodie in my hands, and finally, after months of holding it together, I let myself break down. "I'm so sorry, Micho," I whispered. "I'm so sorry this happened to you. You deserved so much better. You deserved a wife who loved you, a friend who was loyal, a longer life. You deserved to see your son grow up. You deserved everything, and you got none of it." I cried until I had no tears left, until my whole body ached, until I was empty. But the next morning, I got up because Sebastian needed breakfast, because he needed to get dressed, because he needed someone to love him and care for him and protect him, because that's what his father would have wanted. Months turned into years. Sebastian grew. He started kindergarten, then first grade. He made friends. He joined soccer. He was smart, funny, kind. So much like Daniel, it sometimes hurt to look at him. Vanessa got out of prison after serving 20 months. She moved back in with her mother in Colombia. The supervised visits petered out after a few months. Sebastian would talk to her on the phone once a month. Awkward conversations that neither of them seemed to enjoy. When Sebastian was 7, she stopped calling altogether. "Grandma," he asked me one day, "why doesn't Mommy call anymore?" "I don't know, baby. Sometimes adults have a hard time doing the right thing." "Do you think she stopped loving me?" That question broke my heart. "No, sweetheart. I think she loves you very much. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people have problems they need to work on. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you." "I love you, Grandma." "I love you too, baby, so much." Marcus got out of prison and disappeared again. We heard through friends that he moved to California, changed his name, started a new life. I didn't care. He was dead to me. The money from the life insurance remained mostly untouched in Sebastian's trust fund. I used only what was necessary for his expenses, his education, his activities. The rest would be waiting for him when he turned 21. On the 5th anniversary of Daniel's death, Sebastian and I went to the cemetery. He was 9 years old now, tall for his age, with Daniel's smile in Daniel's eyes. We stood in front of the gravestone. Daniel Eduardo Morales. Beloved son and father, the dates of his too short life carved in granite. "I wish I remembered him better," Sebastian said softly. "I was so little." "He loved you so much," I told him. "Every day he would come home from work and the first thing he would do was pick you up and spin you around. You would laugh and laugh. He lived for that sound." "Really? Really, you were the best thing in his life." Sebastian placed the bouquet of white roses we had brought on the grave. "Hi, Dad," he said. "It's me, Sebastian. I'm 9 now. I play soccer. I'm really good at math. Grandma says I get that from you. I miss you even though I don't remember you that much. But Grandma tells me stories about you all the time, so I kind of feel like I know you. I hope you're proud of me." I had to turn away so he wouldn't see me crying. Life went on. It had to. Sebastian needed routine, stability, normalcy. I gave him everything I could. Love, attention, boundaries, encouragement. I went to every soccer game, every school play, every parent-teacher conference. I helped with homework. I made his favorite meals. I tucked him in every night and read him stories. Some nights, lying in bed, I would think about Vanessa, about how different things could have been if she had just been faithful, if she had just been honest, if she had just loved my son the way he deserved to be loved. But she hadn't. She had made her choices, and we all had to live with the consequences. Sebastian was 10 when he asked me the full story. We were sitting on the back porch on a warm Saturday afternoon. He had just finished his soccer practice, and we were drinking lemonade. "Grandma, why did Mommy go to jail?" I had known this question was coming. I had prepared for it, but it still caught me off guard. "What do you remember about that time?" I asked carefully. "Not much. I remember we went to the airport. There were police. Mommy was crying. Then I came to live with you. Your mommy made some bad choices," I said slowly. "After your daddy died, she did things that were wrong. She lied about some important papers. The police found out, and she had to go to jail." "Did she hurt someone?" "In a way, yes. She hurt your daddy's memory. She hurt me. She hurt you by taking you away from everything you knew. Was it because of Marcus?" My eyebrows rose. "You remember Marcus?" "Kind of. I remember Mommy was with him a lot, and he was at the airport too, but he ran away. Marcus was your daddy's best friend. But he and your mommy had a relationship they shouldn't have had, and that hurt a lot of people." Sebastian was quiet for a long time, processing. "Are you mad at Mommy?" I was very mad. But now I'm just sad. Sad that she made such bad choices. Sad that you don't have your mommy around. Sad that your daddy died so young. "I'm glad I have you, Grandma." I pulled him close and kissed the top of his head. "I'm glad I have you too, baby. You're the best thing in my life." When Sebastian was 12, Vanessa called. It was the first time I had heard from her in almost 3 years. "Marta, it's Vanessa." Her voice sounded different, older, tired. "Vanessa, I wanted to ask if I could see Sebastian. It's been so long. I miss him so much." "He doesn't ask about you anymore," I said, and it wasn't meant to be cruel. It was just the truth. "Please, Marta, I know I messed up. I know I did terrible things, but he's my son. I just want to see him, just once." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no, to protect Sebastian from more confusion, more hurt. But another part of me remembered what the therapist Sebastian had seen said, that children need to resolve relationships with absent parents, that not knowing is sometimes worse than knowing. "Let me talk to him. If he wants to see you, I'll arrange it. If he doesn't, you need to respect that." Okay, thank you, Marta." That evening I talked to Sebastian. "Your mom called today. She wants to see you." He looked up from his video game. "Oh, you don't have to if you don't want to. This is completely your choice." "What would we even talk about?" he asked. "I don't know, baby. Whatever you want to talk about, I guess." He thought about it for a few days. Finally, he came to me. "I think I want to see her, just to see what she's like now. Is that okay?" Of course it's okay. We arranged a meeting at a restaurant, neutral territory. I would be there but sitting at a different table, giving them space but remaining close. The day came. Vanessa arrived first. She looked so different, older, obviously. She was almost 40 now. Her hair was shorter, with some gray showing. She wore jeans and a simple blouse. No makeup. She looked nervous. Sebastian and I walked in. She stood up when she saw him. "Sebastian," she breathed, "you're so big." He was almost as tall as her now, 12 years old but looking more like 14. They sat down. I moved to a table across the restaurant where I could see them but not hear them. The conversation looked awkward at first. Long pauses, Vanessa doing most of the talking, Sebastian nodding occasionally. But after about 20 minutes something shifted. Sebastian started talking more. Even laughed once. The visit lasted an hour. When it was over, Vanessa hugged him. He let her, though he didn't hug back. In the car on the way home, I asked, "How was it?" "It was okay. She's different than I remembered. Sadder." "Did she apologize?" "Yeah, a lot. She said she was sorry for everything. For messing up. For not being there. She said she thinks about me every day." "How did that make you feel?" "I don't know, confused, I guess. She's my mom, but she also feels like a stranger. That's understandable. Can I see her again sometime? If you want to, yes. They started meeting once a month, always with me present, always at public places. The relationship was cordial but distant. Sebastian never called her mom. He called her Vanessa. She never pushed for more. Years passed. Sebastian became a teenager. He grew tall, over 6 feet, just like Daniel had been. He played football. He got good grades. He started dating. He got accepted to the University of Florida with a partial scholarship. On the day we moved him into his dorm, I cried in the car on the way home. Patricia, now in her 70s but still sharp as ever, patted my hand. You did good, Marta. You raised that boy right. I hope so. I hope Daniel would be proud. He would be. I know he would be. Sebastian thrived in college. He studied engineering, just like his father had. He made friends. He joined a fraternity. He called me every Sunday, without fail, just like Daniel used to do. Vanessa came to his high school graduation. She sat in the back by herself. Afterwards, she congratulated him briefly and left. She didn't push for more involvement in his life. I think she understood that she had lost that right years ago. When Sebastian was 21, I gave him access to his trust fund. The $500,000 had grown with investments to almost $750,000. This is from your father. I told him, he worked hard for this, he paid for that insurance policy every month thinking about your future. Use it wisely. He cried when he saw the amount. Grandma, I can't take all this. It's not mine to give, it's yours. Your father wanted you to have it. I'm going to use some of it to pay off my student loans, and I want to invest the rest, maybe buy a house someday. Start a family? Your father would love that. Sebastian graduated college with honors. He got a job at a construction firm in Tampa. He met a girl named Sophia, a sweet woman who studied to be a teacher. They dated for 2 years, and then he brought her home to meet me. Grandma, this is Sophia. Sophia, this is my grandmother, Marta, the woman who raised me. Sophia hugged me warmly. He talks about you all the time. Thank you for taking such good care of him. It was my privilege, I said, and I meant it. Sebastian proposed to Sophia on the beach where Daniel used to take him as a child. He showed me the ring first, asking for my blessing. Your father would have loved her, I told him, and I love her too. You have my blessing. They got married on a beautiful Saturday in May. I wore a lavender dress and sat in the front row. Patricia sat beside me. Rosa and her family were there. Daniel's old friends came. Vanessa was not invited. Sebastian had asked me what I thought, and I told him it was his decision. He decided it would be too uncomfortable. When Sebastian and Sophia exchanged vows, I cried. Happy tears and sad tears mixed together. Happy that he had found love, sad that Daniel wasn't there to see it. During the father-daughter dance, Sophia danced with her father. Then the DJ announced a special dance. Sebastian Morales would like to invite his grandmother, Marta, for a dance to honor the woman who raised him. I was shocked. He came over and offered his hand. May I have this dance, Grandma? We danced to What a Wonderful World. I could barely see through my tears. Thank you, he whispered, for everything, for taking me in, for loving me, for being my mom and my grandma and my everything. I wouldn't be here without you. You gave me a reason to keep living, I whispered back. After your father died, I didn't know how I would go on, but then I had you. And you saved me as much as I saved you. A year later, Sebastian and Sophia had a baby. A girl, they named her Daniela, after Daniel. The first time I held her, I saw my son in her eyes, in her smile, in the way she gripped my finger. Hello, beautiful girl, I whispered. Your grandfather would have loved you so much. Life comes full circle like that. Death and birth, loss and gain, pain and healing. I'm 70 years old now. My hair is completely white. My arthritis is worse. I need a walker now instead of just a cane. But I'm here. I'm alive. I have my grandson and his wife and their beautiful daughter. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Vanessa. I wonder if she thinks about Sebastian, if she regrets her choices, if she knows that he's happy, successful, married, a father. She sent a card when Daniela was born, just a simple card with congratulations written inside, and her name, nothing else. Sebastian put it in a drawer and never mentioned it again. Marcus died 2 years ago. Heart attack. Sebastian saw the obituary online and showed it to me. We felt nothing. He was a ghost from another life. Sometimes I go to the cemetery and talk to Daniel. I tell him about Sebastian, about Sophia, about Daniela. I tell him how proud I am, how proud he would be. We made it, Misho. I whisper to his gravestone. Your son turned out wonderful. You would love the man he became. The other day, Sebastian came over for Sunday dinner. He brings Sophia and Daniela every week. We eat together, talk, laugh. Daniela is learning to walk now. She takes wobbly steps across my living room, and Sebastian catches her when she falls. Watching him with his daughter, I see Daniel, the same gentle way of holding her, the same pride in his eyes, the same love. You're a good father, I told him. I learned from the best, he said. My dad might not have been around, but you taught me everything he would have taught me. You taught me about love and responsibility and family. After they left, I sat in Eduardo's old recliner and thought about everything. About the phone call that night, 15 years ago. About the funeral, about discovering Vanessa's betrayal, about the arrest at the airport, about raising Sebastian, about all the years in between. It wasn't the life I planned. I was supposed to grow old with Eduardo. I was supposed to watch Daniel raise his own children from a distance, being a fun grandmother who spoiled them and sent them home. I was supposed to retire peacefully and travel and enjoy my golden years. Instead, I buried my husband and my son. I raised my grandson. I fought legal battles. I faced betrayal and heartbreak and loss. But I also experienced love. Pure, unconditional love. The love between a grandmother and grandson. The love that survives tragedy. The love that builds a family from broken pieces. Would I change it if I could? Would I go back and do things differently? I don't know, because if things had been different, I might not have had these years with Sebastian. I might not have gotten to raise him, to shape him, to love him so completely. Sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. Sometimes loss makes room for a different kind of gain. I survived. We survived. And that's enough. The insurance money that Vanessa tried to steal, the money that caused so much pain and led to her arrest, ended up exactly where Daniel wanted it. In a trust for his son, to give him opportunities, to secure his future, to show him that his father loved him even beyond death. And I got my grandson, the light in my darkness, the reason I wake up each morning, the best thing that came from the worst thing. As I sit here now in my quiet house, looking at photos of Sebastian and Sophia and baby Daniela on my mantle, next to photos of Daniel and Eduardo, I feel at peace. The pain of loss never fully goes away, but it becomes bearable. It becomes part of your story instead of the whole story. I lost my son, but I gained a purpose. I gained years of watching his son grow into a man. I gained memories I treasure more than anything. And in the end, love won. Not romantic love, not the love that Vanessa destroyed, but family love, the love between generations, the love that survives everything. That's the real inheritance Daniel left behind. Not money, not a house or a car or possessions, but love, and the knowledge that family, real family, never gives up. I kept my promise to him, the promise I made standing by his grave 15 years ago. I protected his son. I raised him right. I made sure he knew he was loved. And now, as I enter the final chapter of my own life, I can rest knowing I did what I was supposed to do. I saved my grandson, and maybe, in doing so, he saved me too.